Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Whitney Cummings tells the Dallas Observer, I always worried that if I ever got happy, I'd stop being funny. I wish that someone had told me sooner that that's not how it works. My act was about me and my self-sabotaging behaviors, but now it's obvious about the world that I'm bringing up my son into and needing to understand it a bit better. It's a nice upgrade from an emotionally fraught, confused person to someone who is less confused and no longer emotionally fraught. As a comedian, I could stay immature forever, but I learned I could be mature and be happy and still be funny. Michael Ian Black told the Inside Hook on Twitter, I learned very early on I'm not going to change anybody's mind about anything, and I no longer try. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. What I'm trying to do is engage with people on the basis of their arguments, not because I'm trying to convince them, but because I'm trying to help people who may feel the way I do, but don't necessarily know how to approach these conversations. And I don't either a lot of times. So a lot of times when I'm engaging, it's not because I'm so sure of my own position, it's to understand my own position better. It's to be able to defend my own position so that if I were to have a conversation with you in real life and something would come up, I might have an actually informed opinion rather than just kind of a knee-jerk liberal response to something. Inside Hook points out that Michael Ian Black is not shy about calling out his fellow comedians, including appearing in the recent Louis C.K. documentary Sorry Not Sorry, or about writing a piece about the time Andrew Dice Clay threatened to kick his ass, or Joe Rogan's lazy use of slurs in his latest special. Michael Ian Black has a Substack, which I follow, is pretty good. Which reminds me, I should promote my own Substack. Mine is called Media Thoughts by John McDermott. I'll throw a link in the show notes. Basically, I have Music Mondays, where I just write about whatever band I feel like writing about. Wednesdays are podcast recommendations, and maybe once or twice a week on the other days, I'll write about podcasting. It is not a comedy blog. If I want to talk about comedy, that's this. Anyway, it's free. I hope you will check it out. Link in the show notes. Michael Ian Black says, it feels hypocritical of me to call out politicians for crappy behavior and then somehow not call out fellow comics for crappy behavior. I don't want to be that guy. Like in the case of Rogan in particular, he has such a massive platform. He's such an influential part of the culture that when he releases a special and the punchline to one of his jokes is, I don't want to say the word, rhymes with maggot, I'm like, you can do better. And you owe it to your audience to do better. Because he knows who his audience is, and he knows the influence he has over them. So when he's giving them moral license to be jerk faces, they're going to take that license. Slight paraphrase there by me. And I don't think it's enough when you're at Joe Rogan's level to say, I'm just a comic. You're not. For better or worse, or whatever the term actually applies to you in particular, you're a thought leader. And I think if it was me, I think you just have a responsibility there not to make things worse for people. And I know that's not his intention. I really, in my heart, I believe that. But that's the effect it has, and so Joe Rogan doesn't give a hoot about what I think. Joe Rogan doesn't know who I am, but I thought it was incumbent on me, just in my own conscience, to call it out. Greg Fitzsimmons talked about working with Ellen and said, working with Ellen, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? And I think that it killed me. It was amazing watching the evolution of that show. I was brought in to help come up with ideas for the show before it launched. It was a really exciting feeling about it. It was all about positivity and possibility. Then we started winning Emmys, and it became very unpleasant. There was a lot of fear going around. It didn't feel fun at the end. I'd go on the road, and all these Midwestern housewives would come up to me after the show and be like, oh, my God, you were with Ellen. What's she like? And I would tell them what she's like. And you could see their shoulders slump and tears well up in their eyes. And they'd be like, no. And I'd be like, yeah. America loves to tear down its lovable icons. In some cases, I feel like it's unwarranted. But in this case, it's amazing to me to see her going out. She's doing this new special where she's talking about how she got thrown under the bus. Let's just say it was warranted. Wow. Ali Sadiq spoke to the spokesman. Ali said, people make a lot of mistakes in their life and go through things. You should have went right, but you went left. You zigged when you should have zagged. Things happen. You don't get a chance to pinpoint a lot of times when you went wrong. During his time in prison, he reflected on the mistakes he had made and pinpointed the exact year in which the first domino fell, leading to his incarceration. The domino effect was supposed to be a one-off, but he says, as people got to wonder how I got locked up, I want to give the history of it. Once I did domino effect and people were interested, it was like, oh, what a way to go, and I can continue to do them. He recalls comedian Billy D. Washington telling him, when you're not being funny, be interesting. Ollie says the domino effects are a reality of that. When I'm not being funny, the story's interesting. I don't even start off trying to be funny. It's me telling the story and taking this deep dive into what I've experienced versus what somebody else has experienced. I'm still trying to get better as a storyteller. I'm not the best that I can be yet. I can get better. I can develop better. I'm doing other specials in order to get better at what I actually do and put out all these different works. He says he wants to be like Denzel Washington. By the way, you know, if you had a time machine, so when I graduated from Fordham University in 1987, the commencement speaker was some unknown actor, Denzel Washington. We weren't impressed. Boy, I'd like a do-over on that one. Dumb teenagers. Ollie says, Denzel is Denzel regardless. It doesn't matter what role he's in. He just sells you something else. I want to get better in my craft to beat myself and give you all this different work. It's like, yo, he was great in this. He was great in that. He was different in this, but he was still great. Same chair, same microphone. He's just giving us something different. From the Daily Mail, a Ricky Gervais skit was shown in court. A man claimed he was copying Ricky Gervais when he allegedly did a Nazi salute outside a Jewish museum in Sydney. 3 men were charged with behaving in an offensive manner in public after knowingly displaying Nazi symbols without an excuse near the Sydney Jewish Museum last October. The men told the police they were joking. One of the men said he was copying a Ricky Gervais routine. In a clip played for the court, Ricky Gervais performs a mock Nazi salute while pushing his hair down to mimic Hitler and says, I do that quick so no one can take a picture of me doing that. Not a traditional subject for comedy, the old Holocaust. Magistrate Jennifer Atkinson questioned the timing of the acts, which occurred less than a week after the attacks by Hamas last October. She told the court, it really is a matter of common knowledge what occurred in Israel days earlier. He might have said it was a joke, but why that location? Why that time? The magistrate added, I'm not making a decision about Ricky Gervais. Friend of the show, Jason Zinaman, writes in the New York Times under the headline, Is the comedy club booking process broken? The owners of a new spot say hiring comics based on referrals from other stand-ups is no guarantee the acts will be funny. This is the Bushwick Comedy Club. Owner Jad and his partners plan to book via tape submissions rather than referrals. Jad tells Jason, whether or not you get on stage at most clubs in the city has very little to do at this point with how funny you are. Most major clubs use a referral system to varying degrees. That means to get on stage, you need other comics to vouch for you. Naturally, comedians pick their friends. There's even motivation to promote mediocrity. Jad told Zinaman, honestly, you don't want to follow someone who buries you. Wow. Our main difference is going to sound stupid, but simply put, we're going to actually watch submission tapes. Referrals will not matter, nor will social media followers. Only how funny you are on tape. On Instagram, Bushwick Comedy Club promotes itself as the only club in New York who books its lineup purely off video submissions. So what's going to happen? You submit a tape, the 3 owners watch it. If all 3 give a thumbs up, you become part of the rotation. If one doesn't like it, you're out. They've already poured over 1,000 tapes and signed up 70 comics. I got news for these guys. That's going to get old really quick, and comedians are going to be like, hey, you know who's funny? You should check out this guy. Zinaman writes, several New York club owners, including one at the Tiny Cupboard, describe only watching tapes as impractical because there's not enough hours in the day. Amen. They also say this critique mischaracterizes the process, which typically finds talent through multiple sources, including submissions. This weekend in D.C., it's the 2nd annual Because They're Funny Comedy Festival, the BTF Festival. I mentioned this before. I think they're being very generous with the word festival. Saturday at 8 o'clock, Dion Cole hosts the 2nd annual Breakout Comedian of the Year competition. All right, so you'll get Dion Cole and 6 comedians. Leslie Jones performs Sunday at 8. It's not really a festival, guys. That's 2 shows and some good branding. Shane BRENDEN has an album out today. It's called Either Way Pretty Funny. It is a funny album, and Shane BRENDEN is way cool. How do I know? Because I listened to the album and I interviewed Shane BRENDEN. He'll be the guest on tomorrow's podcast. Loved him. I could have talked to him for another hour, but I had a volleyball game at 10 minutes after the end of the recording, and I had to split. Portland, Oregon-based comedian and military veteran Shane BRENDEN releases his debut album via Blonde Medicine today. In Either Way Pretty Funny, BRENDEN obsesses over NBA rookies and endearingly gripes about his family. And if you ever wanted to hear somebody do slam poetry about working at a McDonald's, well, he's got you covered. He is my guest tomorrow. It is a wonderful conversation. Please check it out. Also out today, Paige Weldon's comedy album, I Turned Out Fine. This one from A Special Thing Records, recorded in L.A. It's Paige's 3rd comedy album and includes personal stories about working in a library, being an only child, and not attending her high school reunion, as well as takes on her parents' tattoos, surprise compliments, and how therapists are like strippers. Now I'm remembering, I asked the record label if Paige Weldon wanted to do the show. I didn't hear back from them. What's the deal with that? And that is your comedy news for today. Why? Because my voice just gave out. I recorded 3 of these in a row to accommodate my schedule. So that's your comedy news for today. If you would like the program without commercial interruption, there's a link in the show notes that'll tell you how to do that. This podcast supports Podcasting 2.0. If you want to stream some sats my way, use a Podcasting 2.0 app, and you can do that. I like True Fans. I also like Castamatic is another good app for that sort of thing. And it always helps to grow the show if you tell a friend about it. If you like the show, they might like it too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. See you tomorrow with Shane BRENDEN. He's really great.